What is this? This is the final few poems.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any of them that are jumping off the page for you? Anybody?
Tell me again which ones we're going to do.
Yeah, so this is part 3 of the Atwood poems, and we're considering today Emptiness, September Mushrooms, Tracking the Rain, and Betrayal.
Whoops. I pulled out the wrong ones, some of them. I thought it was Dearly. Have we looked at Dearly? Oh, Children?
Yeah, we did not look at Dearly. Thank you.
I pulled out Tracking the Rain, Oh Children, and Dearly. And what were the other two that you?
Emptiness.
Emptiness?
And September Mushrooms.
Well, how about starting with Dearly?
I'm a fan.
Let's read the whole thing first, I think.
Okay, I'll read the whole thing. Dearly, it's an old word, fading now. Dearly did I wish, dearly did I long for. I loved him dearly. I make my way along the sidewalk, mindfully because of my wrecked knees, about which I give less of a shit than you might imagine. Since there are other things more important, wait for it, you'll see. Bearing half a coffee in a paper cup with, dearly do I regret it, a plastic lid, trying to remember what words once meant. Dearly, how is it used? Dearly beloved, we are gathered. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here in this forgotten photo album I came across recently. Fading now, the sepias, the black and whites, the color prints, everyone so much younger, the Polaroids. What is a Polaroid? Asked the newborn a decade ago. How to explain? You took the picture and then it came out the top. The top of what? It's that baffled look I see a lot. So hard to describe, the smallest details of how all these dearly gathered together, of how we used to live. We wrapped up garbage in a newspaper tied with string. What is newspaper? You see what I mean? String though, we still have string. It links things together. A string of pearls. That's what they would say. How to keep track of the days. Each one shining, each one alone, each one then gone. I've kept some of them in a drawer on paper, those days fading now. Beads can be used for counting, as in rosaries, but I don't like stones around my neck. Along this street, there are many flowers, fading now because of its August, and dusty, and heading into fall. Soon the chrysanthemums will bloom, flowers of the dead in France. Don't think of this as morbid, it's just reality. So hard to describe the smallest details of flowers. This is a stamen, nothing to do with men. This is a pistol, nothing to do with guns. It's the smallest details that foil translators, and myself too, trying to describe. See what I mean? You can wander away. You can get lost. Words can do that. Dearly beloved, gathered here together in this closed drawer, fading now, I miss you. I miss the missing, those who left earlier. I miss even those who are still here. I miss you all dearly. Dearly do I sorrow for you. Sorrow, that's another word you don't hear much anymore. I sorrow dearly.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I said at first that I was going to say I love that poem, and then decided that's not really the reaction I want to have. It's something more complex than that. I do love that she is certainly my age. Her memories, her trying to explain to someone what a Polaroid camera is, just all the memories fit my memories, and that makes me resonate with a poem differently than someone who is 40 would, or someone who was 30.
Well, Polaroid cameras have a renaissance right now. My daughter has one. So they know what Polaroid cameras are, and they like the Polaroid snapshots, which I think is interesting. But I do remember that old Polaroid camera that my grandmother had that would snap down into like this, not like a book. And then there was a button, it would pop up, and then you would take a picture with it. I don't know if you guys remember those Polaroid cameras, but she would take a picture whenever we did something, went to the beach, went fishing, So we still have a lot of those pictures around, hanging around in photo albums. It does, like you, Emery, I just feel that it's a reflection on time and things past, and what we hold dearly then and now is changed so much with our technology.
And I think also she's making it personal for herself. By the time I got to the end, I thought it was aging is a sad affair, missing parts of herself, as well as the objects that she describes, her memory. She's missing parts of her memory. And there were so many wonderful, skillful techniques she uses in the poem that resonate and circle back. For example, she begins to say, I loved him dearly, but then in the second stanza at the end, wait for it. Since there are other things more important, wait for it, you'll see. And then she uses the idea of waiting and being lost in it, and what's lost in the waiting and what's lost in what's fading. There's so much of what she does is a resonance. And so I'm hopeful, Amory, that it will speak to younger people as well as to us. We shall, who knows, the idea of the pearls in the second page, and connected to how to keep track of the days, each one shining, each one alone, each one then gone. But she's tried to hold on to some. It's just a real powerful poem for me. And then she connects it to spiritual, right? In that beads can be used for counting, as in rosaries. But then she says, I don't like stones around my neck. So there's a lot of back and forth emotional resonances in this. Like living is dying moment by moment.
I get the sense that she enjoys celebrating the good memories, all the memories that someone would collect and consider in their later years, but she doesn't want to wear those memories. She doesn't want to just have them be something that she shows people and that she would wear. They're not. They don't control her, is what I get.
Yeah. I think it's a measure of control. What millstone around your neck? A yoke can be very heavy. There are lots of images around. Shackles certainly are not only heavy, but imprisoning. So, yeah, I think that's why she doesn't want them around her neck.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that. I wonder, though, she's also talking and using the sounds of words to resonate some of her meanings. Because this is about translation as well. I mean, there's so many little strings, like ideas on a string of pearls in this. She's talking about translating the past to the present for others to understand. The smallest details of flowers. This is a stamen, nothing to do with men. That paragraph or that stanza, you can wander away, you can get lost. Words can do that. This is a powerful, powerful poem.
Are you suggesting that when she says you can wander away, you can get lost, that she's saying you can wander into your memories and get lost in them? Do you think that's what she's saying?
I think that's, yes, you can do that. You can get lost into words too. Words are that powerful, not just memories, but words themselves. If you're a translator, because she says, don't think this is morbid, it's just reality. And so my question is, why just? Why didn't she just write its reality if she doesn't want to own the morbid?
Oh. I felt that a line that reached out to me was at the end. Dearly beloved, gathered here together in this closed drawer, fading now. I miss you. And that feels like a self-description. That she describes herself as in a closed drawer and fading now, as if somebody has opened it, which would probably, I just find that so interesting, because you keep tools and things in drawers that you need handy, and the opening of a drawer representing a birth of someone, and after you've taken your tools in and out of them, and then it's closing is the image that I came up with, and I'm really enjoying that imagery, but also, just based on the previous comments, the human experience is much more than we do more than just be tools, but maybe it is that simple. Maybe we are just tools that are used during our lifetime and then put away.
I think it's more of like a passage in time. I would say that you open the drawer, there are your memories, and she picks out some very specific artifacts to kind of detail her life for us to kind of connect to her. I like how she uses the image of string of pearls to kind of connect those different images. But I was writing down like the plastic lid of a coffee cup she regrets. So there's her little point on environmentalism. String, newspaper. String used to be something that you had to have a ball of string in the house because you use string for all kinds of things. And the newspaper, I think that goes back to what we were talking about last week, where we get all our information on the web, and nobody really understands. Very few people get a newspaper anymore. Although you can still get them in the grocery store, but it's not. When I was a kid growing up, we got the newspaper every day.
We do.
Yeah, we get it every day, but I'd say most people don't. It's not as a common occurrence as it used to be. We really relied on that. And then, again, the Polaroid pictures is another thing, throwback, and kind of something that you would throw in a drawer, where you kind of collect all your memories, and then at some point you're going to put those in a photo album, or you're going to do something with them. I think we all have that drawer or chest or some box that we keep all that stuff in.
I didn't read it as something like a tool drawer that you would access regularly. Talking about that drawer that my mother had of absolutely unsorted photographs. And that just stayed closed. Maybe once a year it would be opened, and that's more the image I have. It's startling to me. Every once in a while I'll pull out a picture of my family gathering, and just because of who was in it, I'm the only one left alive in the picture I was looking at.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Maria, I think that's what she's suggesting there too, along with everything of other interpretations, because in the first stanza she says, dearly, it's an old word fading now. Dearly did I wish, dearly did I long for, I loved him dearly. She takes us through many of those details. And then in the penultimate paragraph, dearly beloved, gathered here together. Those are the words we say at a funeral.
Oh, they're the opening words of the wedding ceremony too.
Oh, I didn't remember that. How many weddings have I been to lately? Woo!
Well, I'm not saying that's how they would open now, but it traditionally was.
We are gathered here today to witness the matrimony of blah, 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 and boo, boo, boo.
Okay, forget what I said.
In the sight of God and man. Yep.
But they're both fading. She does bring that back down. Fading now. From the first stanza.
I also think it's telling that she lets us know that her knees are a mess, and there's lots of I don't know what that is, but she says that doesn't bother me nearly as much as you think it might. And what bothers her are all those things that are fading, not the body things that are just aching, but the memories that are fading.
And the one thing that'll last is that plastic lid. You know that from her previous environmental poems. That is her one regret.
Is that the only regret there?
I think so. What, does anyone else see another one?
A plastic lid, and then trying to remember what words once meant.
Yeah.
I think I think it's when I read through it, I just look for people. I mean, she does mention people in the photo, but nobody specific. It's like you can share these memories with her because she didn't get that specific on it. But maybe it's because she's trying to. In some ways, I think she's trying to have us ask the question too for ourselves: what is dearly to us? What do we hold dearly?
Why does she pose a new question in the last 3 lines?
What?
I think I don't know. I thought about, like, dearly do I sorrow for you. And sorrow, that's another word you don't hear much anymore. I sorrow dearly.
And then she just leaves that. I mean, that could be a whole nother thing.
But I think it's, yeah, I don't know. I really like it though.
Or it's the answer to all the others. We're questioning whether or not she misses what she used to have and know, but she's forgetting. And then she tells us that she's sorrowful.
I can't help but feel like the year that this was potentially written, and I'm not quite sure exactly when this specific poem was written, but her partner for many years, Mr. Gibson, he passed away September 2019, but the book was released November 2020. So I wonder if this was written after he passed away, if this is it would be potentially a newer poem, since it took her, 10 years before this book came out. This is a collection of new poems over a span of years. And I wondered if this was perhaps one of the last ones that made it into the manuscript that went to an editor or a publisher before.
Who was her partner, Shannon?
I think Graham Gibson was her partner. They never married. She's divorced. She got divorced in 1973, but her partner, they were together from 73 to 2019. And he was an artist as well. He was an artist and a writer.
So she starts out the poem with dearly and explaining what dearly means. Well, she tries to she puts it into some context. And then I think it's just a reflection. And then at the closing the poem, she says, after she shuts the drawer, dearly do I sorrow for you. So it's the longing for the past, some of that. And then she kind of like, sorrow, here's another word we can play around with. Dearly do I sorrow for you, and I sorrow dearly. But it's a continuation. I think it doesn't really end. It ends the poem, but life continues. That's a summation of a lifetime.
That's a little grim, but I agree.
Well, the flow of this poem feels like a string of consciousness, not to use the word string from the string of pearls, but it just feels like a free write almost. I mean, it just flows, though, so wonderfully from topic to topic and item to item. It makes sense. And I didn't get this, I didn't feel like I was being jerked around from one event to another event. It didn't feel harsh. It really blended well, and she connected these thoughts beautifully, of course. So I know that it wasn't a free write. If it started as a free write, it's been well constructed afterwards.
She doesn't tell us what she's actually doing until that second to the last paragraph, when she says, "Dearly beloved, gathered here together in this closed drawer." So that kind of gives her permission to do that free write. So she's going through all this memorabilia. These memories are coming back. She's writing snippets about it and then stringing them together.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a very, I think it's a great poem for to be the marquee poem of the book.
Well, that's Amy's question. Do we like this poem?
I found 12 dearlies in the poem. Just now I was looking, and I could be wrong, because I'm also listening closely to what Shannon was just saying, but isn't that worth telling? There's 12 dearlies, maybe more. So she does some of this by repetition throughout, not just the word dearly. So as a free write that may seem like that, I think, Shannon, building on what you were saying, partly her skill is using repetition really well, then doubling back to her reflections after she goes into concrete detail, and then she uses very concrete visual words, even throws in shit. I mean, conversational, not Latinate, right? Word.
I love the use of shit in this poem. I just find it not offensive. We had a discussion about the F word not too long ago, if you remember. And it's kind of like nudity in an independent film, you know. Does it forward the plot? It gets all these examinations. So profanity in poetry perhaps comes with the same questions.
Well, I quite like this one. It does remind me how when I read all of them the first time, read them, one right after the other, I just kind of thought, oh my, this is a rough trip through old age, but I think she's masterful.
Betty, what was that other poem you said you had lots of notes on?
I wrote on Emptiness next week, Oh Children and Dearly. So I think we did talk about Emptiness.
We didn't. Last time we got together, we talked about Passport and the Placine Suite. Before that, it was Blizzard and Late Poems.
So Shannon, let's go with your list, the ones that you thought, because you've looked through the podcasts now.
Yes.
And direct us to the next one we should look at. That would be helpful.
Betrayal is pretty spicy.
Oh. Okay. Does everybody have that poem?
I do.
Okay. Betty, do you want to read it? Oh, Children?
No, Betrayal.
Which one are we doing? We're doing Betrayal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeez. Mike says.
What the heck is up with my brain today? Okay.
Mike says, because it's
on your list.
Mike says. Okay.
Mike and Shannon say. Betrayal. When you stumble across your lover and your friend naked in or on your bed, there are things that might be said. Goodbye is not one of them. You'll never close that clumsily opened door. They'll be stuck in that room forever. But did they have to be so naked, so minus grace, floundering around as if in a spring puddle? The legs too spindly, the waist too thick, the flubbers here and there, the tufts of hair. Yes, it was a betrayal, but not of you, only of some idea you'd had of them, soft lit and mystic, with snowfall sifting down and a mauve December sunset. Not this gauche flash, this flesh akimbo, caught in the glare of your stare. Not this gauche flash, this flesh akimbo, caught in the glare of your stare.
Snaps.
Thank you for bringing this one back up to the top to be read. It's quite the poem, isn't it?
I don't think she means for me to laugh, but the description of the old naked bodies is really quite funny.
Yeah.
You need love. You need love at every age.
Well, and then how she goes about sorting out the issue of this, what she's seeing, and knowing that I like how she says, you'll never close that clumsily opened door. They'll be stuck in that room forever. So that will be your image if you shut the door. So you have to sort that out right there. But how many people would shut that door?
Well, kind of that thought, you can't unring a bell, you can't unsee, you can't unknow.
Yeah.
So she took it all in and gave us these great descriptions and images of what she saw.
Mm.
And Amory, to sort of amplify what you had just said, the line, the flubbers here and there. Well, it's an interesting word. It's like blubber and flubdub, which is pretentious nonsense, especially in arguments and bunkum.
Mm.
So yeah, the sounds and the resonance, so it can make us laugh.
Well, and the thought of tufts of hair. Think of how you describe young hair glowing and waving and luxurious, and these old bodies have tufts of hair.
So naked, so minus grace, floundering around as if in a spring puddle.
So she is the you? She's talking to herself?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure who the you was.
Okay, I'm going to be ignorant for a second. Is she?
Only a second.
For a second.
You have a second's worth of permission.
I'm the slow one. So she's walked in on her lover and her friend, who's naked on the bed, and she did not make him naked, right? He has just had sex with another person. Is that what everyone's pick? Is that what's happening?
I just don't know that she, if she means Margaret Atwood, is the one.
Right.
When she didn't say when I walked in. She said you. When you, a person. Or is you the universal? She's saying, when you stumble on something, you've seen it. It's always going to be there.
This is your lover and your friend. So someone you have a understanding with. Is there two bodies? I get the sense there's one body on the bed.
No, the waists too thick, the flubbers, the tough.
Is it?
Well, a person only has one waist, so if there are plural waists there, you've got two people.
But it's plural, yeah. Okay.
So, Shannon, I'm assuming that she says you have to speak. She's not worried. My reading of this is she's wanting to help the you work through it. She's not saying you have to confront them right there and then. You have to deal with the reality of what you saw, is how I read this poem.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? I just figured out my solution to my ignorance. The line that says, but did they have to be so naked? The they. There's a they there. Yeah. When I heard the waist too thick and the flubbers here and there, I thought of it more of a description towards one body, but and then she opens the door and she sees her lover, but it's not. Oh, there I am. Sorry. I have now joined the conversation.
Welcome.
And her friend, comma, and her friend. Okay, thank you. I'll be quiet for a while now.
Go sit in a corner and think about this one for a while.
Shannon, you rise above ignorance far more quickly than most people I know. So
amazing.
I hope you feel better. So is this the first time it's happened or the second time it's happened? Because she says naked in or on your bed. So that's, you either find them naked in your bed or on your bed. I guess in the covers. No, I think it's one instance.
I think it's one instance.
Yeah.
We don't know if they've done it before, but it's one time of opening the door and finding them. And there is something particularly horrifying that it's in your own bed. Mm. If you stumble, I don't know.
Yeah, particularly
anywhere else, but in the most intimate place in your house, you find them in your bed.
Where you've probably done the same thing, and
would assume so. Yes.
Feel very violated right there.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And she's not recommending that we say goodbye to that reality.
Mm. I think she's saying you can't.
You have to confront it.
Yeah.
But I think that's she has the wherewithal to do that, to pull herself in that moment and sort that out. I think that's what impresses me most about this poem, is that she's right in her analysis that she's going to have to confront this and do something about it. But how many people would be able to do that in that moment when all that's going through your mind in your bed? These two people, your friend, your lover, people that you have a trust with, could violate it. So
think about how many times in life when you think, I wish I hadn't seen that, or I wish I didn't know that, or why did you tell me that? Now that you've told me that, I have to know that. No, and I think that's the regret. What's been interesting to me too, and I do a call with my family on Tuesday evenings, and two of the young people are school teachers, high school and middle school teachers. And the struggle is to get the kids to put their faces on Zoom.
Yeah.
I said, as teachers, it's terrible because you are, talking to, it would be for Mike, it would be just the word Michael Singletary. For you, it would be the cat that we see. Or they just they just do not want their faces. And it just is yet again a difficulty in teaching right now. And it's hard for the teachers too.
Yeah. I heard some students are actually have jobs and they're working at their job and they're listening to the class while they're working.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's entrepreneurial. That's better than pot or.
I had a job when I was 15. Yeah, some kids have to do that. Oh my gosh.
Well, I think this is a great lead on to Atwood's O Children.
Okay, let's go to the children.
Who's going to read it?
I know. Amory should read it.
Well, okay, I will. O children. O children, will you grow up in a world without birds? Will there be crickets where you are? Will there be asters, clams at a minimum, maybe not clams? We know there will be waves, not much life needed for those. A breeze, a storm, a cyclone, ripples as well. Stones are consoling. There will be sunset as long as there's dust. There will be dust. Oh, children, will you grow up in a world without songs, without pines, without mosses? Will you spend your life in a cave, a sealed cave with an oxygen line until there's a power failure? Will your eyes blank out like the egg white eyes of sunless fish? And there, what will you wish for? Oh, children, will you grow up in a world without ice, without mice, without lichens? Oh, children, will you grow up?
Oh my goodness.
That is a dark one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the children say. The articulate children at the rallies and such say, this is what you are creating for us. This is what you are bequeathing to us.
Mm-hmm. It's a graphic depiction of extinction told through questions in very few lines. She's not being ambiguous here, is she?
No. The only time when I was a little startled was, will you grow up in a world without songs, without pines, without mosses? The word songs there startled me. Unless that's back to the bird songs and animal sounds.
To me, it was a question of, will you have electricity and electronics, all the gadgets?
Okay.
So I don't.
For me, all I need for a song is me.
Well, yeah. But how many times do you see a huddle or a group of kids under 20 sitting around singing a song? Well, it's I don't know, singing a song together out loud. They all have their earbuds in and listening to their own music.
I read it that this is a statement on our environmental stewardship and our lack of it right now. So
yeah,
we're basically killing the earth, and that none of these things are going to be available for folks. So they're in a cave with an oxygen line because the Earth's surface is not habitable at this point. So we've got to do a better job of taking care of the Earth.
And I noticed that in the first two stanzas, there are 5 lines. And I think in the first stanzas, she's ruminating. She's asking the questions, clams at a minimum. Oh, maybe not clams, right? She's thinking this through and she's showing us. And then she comes to this assessment. Well, we know there will be waves. Why? Because there's not much life needed for those. And stones, well, stones can be consoling. And there'll be sunsets because there'll be dust. And then I think it's more of this old children mournfulness when she gets to the world without songs, without pines, without mosses, and that frightening image of being in a cave until there's a power failure. I mean, and then the egg white eyes of sunless fish. It's like being underwater where is in there, what will you wish for? It's just frightening, isn't it? It's so vividly expressed. And, we're taking away the ice caps but it's interesting to me that she goes from ice to mice. And that's a sound device, right? Or it shows how her mind travels, a person who works with words. In a world without mice, without ice, without mice. And then without fungi, right? Lichens? Children. The question is, will you grow up? Oh.
I'm going to say lichen is a I rhyme.
Lichen? Mm-hmm.
which we touched on a little bit last Saturday, what an I rhyme is. I love that concept. I've actually never thought of or worked with I rhymes. I wish Ron
I don't believe in them.
because it's very similar. It has the
I
in it, IC and an E of ice and mice,
Mm-hmm.
but it sounds nothing like it, of course. Except for-
I personally don't like this one as well as others.
Mm.
She's done well, first of all, because I don't like her prediction. I mean, but that's a whole other issue. I don't like it as a piece of writing as much because it feels like a bludgeon. It feels
She's
feels like a bludgeon.
overstating the point.
Well, I don't think she's overstating it, but she's yelling it at me instead of leading me to something.
Mm.
It's dark.
It's dark
It
and
is.
it's mournful
Mm-hmm.
through the repetition of "Oh, children."
Well, she picks children, but it's like, who wouldn't want to do something for our children? That's like, we all can agree that our children and their future are important.
Then
Yeah,
why-
I was just thinking about that. The number of times you hear someone say, well, I do anything for my kids. I do anything for my kids. Well, in terms of the environment, it seems that isn't so.
Right.
That we wouldn't really do anything for our kids. I'll buy them more toys, and those toys come wrapped in plastic, and they take batteries, and blah 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 blah. But
Mhm.
on a global level, we aren't willing to do anything for our kids.
So it brings it back to us
Well,
as
yeah.
individuals, as families, as communities, as states, and as a nation in a global world. We just did that in our comments, right?
We did it last week.
Yeah,
Yeah, we talked-
it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I guess in that sense, I mean, what she's written about and the message that she keeps bringing to us through the poetry is resonates and echoes through all of these poems that we've been looking at. And I think that's why some of our conversations come back to the same: the government, what we have to do, whose responsibility is it, how do we solve this problem? Well, should we do one more poem? We're about 19 minutes away from noon.
Let's do one more.
Let's do Emptiness.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds happy.
Well, you know, it's going to be a pick-me-up from O Children.
Oh,
Okay, Shannon, I think you are our reader.
I guess so. All right. Okay. Emptiness. If there were no emptiness, there would be no life. Think about it. All those electrons, particles, and whatnot crammed in next to each other like junk in an attic, like trash in a compactor smashed together in a flat block. So there's nothing but plasma. No you, no me. Therefore, I praise vacancy. Vacant lots with their blowing plastics and teasels, vacant houses with furs of dust, vacant stairs, blue as the sky through windows, motels with the word vacancy flashing outside, a neon arrow pointing at the path to be taken to a board front desk, to the key-shaped key on the dangling brown leather key holder, the key that opens the vacant room with its scored linoleum floor, a blared eye yellow, its flowery couch and wilted cushions, its sway-backed bed smelling of bleach and mildew, its stuttering radio, its ashtray that was here 70 years ago. That room has been static for me so long, an emptiness, a void, a silence, containing an unheard story, ready for me to unlock. Let there be plot.
Shannon, I appreciated the pace that you read the poem.
It was hard
Yeah.
words in there. Amazing words. I love it. Scored linoleum floor, a blur-eyed yellow. I don't think she goes to many open mics and has to say these out loud.
That stanza is the most wonderful depiction of a rundown motel room.
Let there be plot. What do you think of that last line? Oh, the stage is set, right?
Well, yeah. I'm not sure how she's using it, but I certainly understand that. Let there be some meaning to this. Let there be some structure, some order. Let it not all be just random.
I put mysterious at the last line. I'm really glad that we did this poem after Oh Children, because I think she opens us up to a mystery, not not the only thing that's going to happen, and it's frightening. Because she's talking, if there were no emptiness, there would be no life. Think about it. And then she does.
Yeah, I think of that often with the beauty of Whatcom County, the space that we have. We don't usually call it emptiness, but the joy of space.
Oh, space is where I totally went. I went to space with this poem, literally at the universe. And then I also went down to between the atoms. The first part of this poem about electrons and particles, they have space between them. We know that an atom mimics a galaxy, and it's with its planets rotating around. And there is space there, even in the smallest bit of particles that are around us and inside of us. That was so exciting to me. And then here is this very descriptive motel, excuse me, very different. It's not a hotel, it is a motel.
It's a motel.
Motor inn, and it has vacancy, it has this space. And it is the human body that is going to go inside of this galaxy and be that movement, inside of there. So this, I was stimulated in many different levels with her analogies and metaphors.
But what is the point of the motel room? What's she got going here?
Is it another affair?
No.
No?
No.
I just want to be the first on that.
Let's vote that response. No.
People having sex. I was the first one to.
Well, I mean, she's looking for a plot, but no.
No, here's the thing. I want to go back to, for all the reasons that were just said, pointing to the path to be taken in the stanza before that, to the board front desk. Now that she's talking about the desk and not a person. She's talking about to the key-shaped key on the dangling brown leather key holder. She's focusing on attention on things there. The key that opens the vacant room. And then with all those details.
Yeah.
That was here 70 years ago. I think nothing has changed, right?
Right.
It's that ashtray was here 70 years ago.
Just gotten older and soggier and more mildewed and been bleached and bleached and bleached more and more often. Yeah, it's just old, tired, lumpy.
Let there be plot. I love the last line because she's like, I need to get out of this rut of what's happened 70 years ago, because things have changed. We don't use any of those. Maybe in some really, really old hotels, you'll still get a key on a fob, but now it's you're scanning it in, or they're giving you a little card to put in to unlock the door. So I think that's the part about the space in the beginning. She's saying, thank goodness things just aren't jammed together, because if they were, we wouldn't have the space to think about things, or we wouldn't have the ability to grow. So it gives us a way to think about ourselves and think about how we want to write that narrative.
Have we become, though, swayed back beds and wilted cushions?
I think the hope is that we haven't become that we've kept up with it a little bit. But I think there are probably parts of my life that I can look at and think that, yeah, I still have that same ideal that I need to think about or change or give some more thought to, because it's not true as it was 50 years ago.
Mm.
Is she talking about know you, know me, death? Let there be plot?
I was thinking to kind of expand on that thought, is that room has been static for me. Because if we go to the previous stanza, it says that room has been static for me so long, an emptiness, a void, a silence. Mm-hmm. And those spacing in between there is exactly what's in the book, containing an unheard story ready for me to unlock. I think she's, saying that here's something that I haven't, that's been lying here in front of me, maybe something that I wrote a long time ago. Maybe it could be a metaphor for a lot of different things, but now it's an opportunity for me to pick that up and create something new with it, or talk about this unheard story.
And she is a story writer. She writes stories. She creates like whole universes in her stories.
I'm taken by the word static. I know lots of people are furniture movers and changing their houses. I tend to, once I have furniture where I think it belongs, want things to stay in place. Mm. And although I buy new artwork every once in a while and so on, but basically once something's placed, that's where it belongs. Well, for me, this is a cautionary tale, this poem, that if you've done that, you could look later and what you've got is something that is now sagging and lumpy, or whatever the equivalent is of just because of neglect, as sad as that room is.
I think she's bringing the plot. God, the creator, saying, let there be light. And she is saying, let there be plot. Perhaps.
Well, for a fiction writer, that's a pretty serious prayer. Let there be plot.
Yeah. Maybe it's like, let there be plot, please, please.
Plot keeps it from a story from being a smashed flat block.
Mm. That ending, let there be plot, to me is an interesting construct, just like the other one where we read, where all of a sudden it said, oh, and sorrow. I miss sorrow. And wait, how did we get to sorrow? This one says, let there be plot. Oh, this is a whole new idea, and you're just going to drop it in on me right there.
And Shannon, your reflection, resonating with let there be light. And my wondering, is she talking about death, makes me think that she thinks there is no transcendence. I don't
There
know.
is or there isn't.
There is not. There's just the story. But I don't know. I was hoping to think that she was talking about death and what comes next and the mystery of that.
Oh.
But now I'm thinking she's circling back because of your connection to the word light. She's saying, let there be plot.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm questioning even more. It's becoming more and more mysterious to me.
Oh. Well, she does say the first line in the second stanza, therefore I praise vacancy.
Yeah, she says praise.
She likes it.
Yeah.
She likes it. She wants it. She wants there to be more, maybe. Or
Well,
just
she explains it that there has to be. If there is no vacancy, then we have a trash compactor. That's a good image for me. That there's all this separate stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's garbage, but it's separate stuff until you turn the compactor on, and then it's just. And we can't be that. We can't be that, even though back to city slums and 12 people living in a single house, we can't be that. There's got to be space.
There's got to be space, and there's people moving around in it. It's when you write a story, you're moving. You have to move your characters. You create a place, a world, and then your characters move around inside of that world. Like maybe a child might move Barbie around the Malibu dream house. You have to physically, but you tell the story. You're physically moving your characters around in that space when you tell the story.
Well, I'd like us to look at the second stanza a little bit closer. She says, therefore I praise vacancy, because I think the images, the details are really important. Vacant lots where they're blowing plastics, that's the present, and teasels. So I looked up teasels.
Yeah. Good, I did not.
Plants they're native to the old world, having thistle-like flowers surrounded by prickly bracts, used to produce a napped surface on fabrics. And then, so plastics and teasels, vacant, so it was being used, the plant, vacant houses, they're furs of dust, and that's a spring shrub blown from outside into the houses. Vacant stairs, blue as the sky through windows. Motels with the word vacancy flashing outside, a neon arrow pointing to the path to be taken.
Yeah.
That is the vacant room.
I guess the thing that has struck me too, the last the let there be to me is a prayer form. That is a prayer. Let there be, God said, let there be light, and there was light, and let there be birds of the field, and there were, or let there be peace. So for me, it ends with a prayer.
Oh yeah, and I'll just throw out there too that this is comes at the end of her section 1, and then there's 5 sections of her book. So she's kind of teeing it up for the rest of her book. Let there be plot. Now we're going to section 2. It's not really a segue.
That'll be interesting to see.
The placement is a bit of a hint. It's a clue for us as well. The placement in the book.
Yeah.
Do we like this poem?
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
I do, and I like it much better than, even though I believe in the message of the one before, I like the poem much better. I like having to think about what it means instead of having it in my face.